Well, hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. And welcome to Rhodes House. This is Rhodes House on South Park Roads. South Park Road in Oxford. Now, this film is kind of a follow-up to the film I did yesterday. Wait a minute, let's get the viewfinder out. Yesterday I made a film called Nelson Mandela Dies. And it was kind of an obituary to Nelson Mandela himself. I mentioned Cecil Rhodes and Rhodes House, and I brought you here now. I mean, I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I think now is an apt time to do it because of the event of Nelson Mandela's death. Now, I was explaining in the film yesterday, and there'll be a link in the description box to what I made, the movie I made. That I was concerned for the future of South Africa. What's going to happen now is Nelson Mandela's legacy going to live on? His legacy of forgiveness, truth and reconciliation, an attempt to build bridges between people and create his dream of a harmonious, stable society of people of many races and cultures and languages and religions? Or are we going to see a genocidal bloodbath, which is what I think some people in the ANC do want. I spoke specifically about Julius Malema, this young Turk from Mandela's tribe who's upcoming. Another person of royal bloodline, I believe, just like Mandela, who was coming through to take over the ANC. And maybe, seems like he will be a future president of South Africa. There's very little doubt about it. Now, of course, all eyes are going to be on the Pretoria government. Everyone's going to be saying, well, what's going to be decided, what's going to be worked out, what plans have they got, these various people. And during this period of mourning where Mandela will lie in state, his funeral is on Sunday week, people aren't going to be talking about it. People are just going to be sad, they're going to be upset, but the questions will inevitably arise: where do we go from here? And everyone will be looking towards the Parliament in Pretoria, the headquarters of the Republic of South Africa, and their government, to what decision is going to be made. Where people are going to say, well, this is where the decisions are going to be made. Let's focus on there and see what these politicians are going to decide. The thing about it is, though, I think the decision of where South Africa's future is going to go will not be made in the Pretoria government, thousands of miles away in South Africa. Most likely place that the future of South Africa is going to be decided is in this building behind me, because this is the headquarters of the Rhodes network. And so I'm just going to have a look at the building physically at first. Here we go. Don't need the viewfinder for that. So it's good to actually be able to not have to use the viewfinder and have the camera close to me, because there's a lot of noise here, there's a lot of traffic, as you can see. It's a busy city street here at South Parks Road. Well, this building was built in 1928, and you can see it's quite elegant in many ways, I think. It's got this Cotswold stone, which is and slate roofs. This is traditional type of windows and things like that, which is common among Oxford University. Most university buildings are built of this kind of stone. In fact, the new buildings have to be built in the same kind of stone to match the old ones. In many ways, some parts of this building look older than others. I mean, that roof there behind me, it looks older than 1928, but it may have been built in a slightly anachronistic style. Well, the portico here, very neoclassical, just like a Greek temple. And here we have the door, and you can see there the Rhodes Trust, the Mandela Rhodes Foundation. So they've named, and I'll come on to that in a minute, Rhodes House. There we are. And here we have, above the door, a picture of a ship. Goede Hoop. That means good hope in Afrikaans. As I explained before, I actually can understand a bit of Afrikaans because I can speak Dutch, and Afrikaans is very similar. Some linguists classify Afrikaans and Dutch as dialects of the same language. And above the door you have the rising sun, symbol of the Illuminati, with five segments. almost like the sacred cow of Discordianism. Nicely finely trimmed lawns. It's very, like I say, it's elegant in style. It's not a sort of secure building. I mean, there's some lots of sort of ground floor entrances and things like that. So it's not it's not like they're not welcoming to visitors. And in fact, you can actually. I'll explain a bit more about the interior in a minute. But the most remarkable feature of this building is this big rotunda here, and on the top you have this strange creature, which is actually, I thought it was maybe reptilian. It's actually an eagle, I think, or some kind of bird from that era, standing on top of a globe. Of course, it's not reptilian. I thought it was reptilian at first, like the ones in Magdalen College, but it's actually an eagle, maybe some kind of bird from South Africa. I don't know, but I've been looking around looking for phallic symbols, because we have this yoni, this vulvic symbol here. I've explained before about the dome and the obelisk being sexual symbolism, creates sexual energy. See my video, the sexiest place in Oxford, and I'll talk about that. And Oxford is full of, I say, Oxford has a major combination of dome and obelisk in Radcliffe Square. Now there's a dome here, I can't see an obelisk now, unless you include this structure on the roof here as phallic. I don't particularly. Well, if mine looked like that, I'd go straight to the doctors, put it that way. I don't think that's a phallic symbol, basically. I don't know what exactly is going on here, but there is a flagpole here with no flag on. But now you used to be able to go in there. I mean, it's shut up now. I mean, I couldn't get in, but they used to let people in. You used to be able to walk around there. Maybe you can at some points, I don't know. You can hire it for weddings and and for functions and for conferences and things like that. Maybe you can get in that way. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll try and see if I can get some pictures of the interior online, and I'll show you them. Okay, this is a website I've come across, which is a virtual tour of Rhodes House. Now, this is the floor plan of the building. And where we are at the moment is just here. This is the South Parks Road going along there. Here is the entrance. Here is the big portico doorway and the rotunda. So we're just going to have a look at some of these locations. So if I use my mouse over here, I'll just have to, where is it? Here we are. All right, it's not easy to do through the camera. This is the, here we go. That is the, that's what you see when you look up at the rotunda. The big tall thing. Yeah, the dome. That is the dome I was telling you about, with the eagle on top of it, the big imperial eagle. And this is what it looks like from the inside when we're looking up at it, which is very impressive indeed. So we'll just move forward one. Where's this? That is the view outside the house there, the grounds, and one of the big courtyards. Another view of the gardens, ivy clad, very sort of like, that's very Oxford sort of thing. That is, these ivy clad Cotswold limestone walls. Another view of the gardens there, beautiful they are, and more of the gardens. I think that's more or less where we were when I was filming from. That road is called, what's it called? Oh, I've got, it's the road. I can't remember what the road's called. That's what it looks like there. And there is another view of the gardens. Just move on a little bit. Lots of garden views here. Let's have a look indoors, shall we? Let's go back to that website. Let's have a look at the inside. These little pictures from the inside. That is called the Bite Room. Bite was the name of Rhodes' business partner, who was his sort of sidekick and many rumoured to be lover. That is big long hallway. I saw that when I was there. Big long grand gallery. This is the more of the Bite Room, which is big room. And this is the Milner Hall, all ready for dining. Yeah, there is one of another big hallways, and you see several important people. These probably several important people, old scholars or people from the South African government there. All this is Milner Hall. Jameson Room. Where was that? So I've got to go back one. No, no, that's not working. No worries. That's the James room, very grand library there. Where were we? There were Milner Hall. Another view of Milner Hall. Now, which is this? One of them's particularly interesting. Where is it? This one. Here we are. Look, who's that on the wall there? It's old Madiba himself, dearly departed. Nelson Mandela. And he's sitting beside, this is very interesting, because look where he's sitting. You'll see where he's sitting in a moment, because that photograph was taken when he visited Rhodes House. Let me just find it for you, because it's a very, very interesting... when we go into the other part of Milner Hall. Where is it? Nah. But you see it's very grand oak type... Oak, lots of oak, lots of velvet. Very imperial, lots of dark ebony, things like that. Because that picture of Mandela was taken, where is it? Where there's that, you see the thing beside him was actually that bust of, a big white marble bust of Rhodes himself. And that's the road. See, there's those benches round there. You go through, there's the entrance hall. Look, black and white squares of Freemasonry. Very obvious. And look here, Newfoundland, Bermuda, Jamaica, Germany. These are the various scholars that have happened through the ages. Ooh, one moment. I'm just going to find you that. I want to find you that bust of Rhodes. So I'm going to stop filming for a minute. More pictures of Mandela there in that alcove. See, as a younger man when he was imprisoned. Yeah, this is without the tables and chairs in, but I remember it's a shame I couldn't. Now this is nice. Look, that there is a tapestry of some kind on this oak panelled wall. Now I'm trying to find the library. Well, we probably won't see the library I showed you. There's more of these passageways throughout the house, and there I think he may be Rhodesy himself when he was older. I'm not sure. His name's Cecil. There it is. That's the bust of Rhodes, and Mandela was photographed sitting beside that, which shows that Mandela was a part of the network. He may not have meant to be. I think Mandela meant well, but he was a part of the Rhodes network, whether you choose to believe it or not. He was. Now then, let's just see where the library was. That's Rhodes House Gardens. No, the library is not here. Rotunda, Milner Hall. Down dining room, Milner Hall, Rhodes House. What's that? That's another picture of that. That's that picture we were looking at before. What's this? Rhodes House. All the others are gardens. So that is that's Rhodes House there for you. The library is just below one of these passageways. It's basically, you go along one of these passageways. I remember this big wooden chest. I think it's imagine. You're here and it's over my shoulder, it's over my left shoulder. There's stairways going downwards, and that's where that library was I told you about. So that's the place where there's this big collection of books, lots of people sitting around a table. I suspect that is where the Rhodes scholars have their meetings. Some of them secret, some of them less so. I'm sure there's different degrees of initiation. And Rhodes, of course, was a Freemason, and of course there's lots of black and white squares of Freemasonry there. See how much other... If you see any more Masonic symbolism in this building from these photographs I've showed you, please let me know. Just thinking about the eagle on top of Rhodes House. The eagle is a symbol often seen in various locations. In this case, it's the symbol of Barclays Bank. And if you remember me saying, I was saying, how come it's this eagle standing on top of a globe? Well, you'd think it might be a reptilian or something like you can see in Magdalen College, as I explained before. But the fact of the matter is, the eagle is often used as a symbol of power and authority. It's a big bird of prey. It's a very, very potent symbol indeed. And you see it, of course, in the Roman Empire. The eagle of the ninth, things like that. You know, the eagle is a symbol often used in the Roman Empire. The Nazis used it as well. And of course, it's also a symbol of the United States. It's their national bird, the bald eagle. And you see eagles everywhere on the dollar bill, everywhere around the USA as well. So that could be why Rhodes chose the symbol of the eagle rather than some other symbol. not a British symbol, but a symbol of general international globalist potency and power and domination. This is the gardens. Actually, I've come around the side of the Rhodes House here, and you can see that this is the gardens, and I think they look their best in summer, but they are really beautiful. And in there's a great hall, which hopefully I'll have shown you, because I'll have maybe found a picture of it. It's very, very nice in there. It's a very elegant building, and it's like I say, it's modelled on a South African colonial mansion. I expect Jacob Zuma lives in there, in one of those type buildings now. I think he lives in Rhodes' old house, actually, in Cape Town. The actual it's called the Rhodes Mandela Trust. So, as I said, they've brought Nelson Mandela's memory into it. They've actually included Nelson Mandela's name in the actual trust name in Rhodes, in the whole Rhodes organisation. You may think that's odd, but it's not actually, because they see these people as recruits, and all imperial powers have done this. They have taken somebody from the native population, the native people, and used them as puppet leaders. And Mandela was meant to be one of these puppet leaders. Or I don't think he did exactly as he was told, but some of the others are, I'm sure. This is why I'm worried about what will happen to that country now that Mandela has gone. Now, there are several courtyards in this building, and out the back there's some beautiful gardens, very, very well kept beautiful gardens, and also a veranda covered by what's called a stoep, S-T-O-E-P, which is an Afrikaans word which refers to an awning above a veranda. It's a traditional piece of Cape Dutch South African architecture, and this is quite a sizable building. There's several floors. It's only the ground floor. When I got in there before, a couple of years ago, I could only get onto the ground floor. You couldn't go anywhere else, but I did. I'll explain later. As I explained, I did manage to get into other places which may be off limits to the public. Anyway, where are we? Right. Now, of course, the building is named after and is a memorial to Cecil Rhodes, who was a student here. He's born in 1853, and he went to Oriel College. Oriel College is actually quite a long way from there. It's in that direction, Oriel College. It's nowhere near here. This is actually the science area of the university. See, this is the Institute of Inorganic Chemistry, just opposite. And over that way is the Science Museum. But he died in 1902, but he left a vast amount of money. Rhodes left a vast amount of money to most of which he allocated for Rhodes Scholarships. This is I'm sure you've heard about Rhodes Scholars before. David Icke has talked about them. So you get a Rhodes Scholarship. It's very, very prestigious. Only I think eight students, 83 per year, and got you set up for life if you get one of them. Anyway, Cecil John Rhodes, he's a businessman and a politician. He was a statesman, and he's pretty much the architect, the designer of the modern South African world, and a lot of the other countries in that area too. The land of Rhodesia, which is now called Zimbabwe, is named after him. It's one of only 2 countries in the world ever named after a person, the other being Bolivia. Zimbabwe, of course, well, I've spoken about Zimbabwe last week on Hapanmo Radio because it was the scene of a very, very famous, well, not famous, but a very, very prestigious and not prestigious. So I'm tripping over my words here. A very, very unusual UFO encounter in a place called Rua, just outside Harare. A flying saucer landed at a school, and it was seen by almost 100 school children. And John Mack investigated that before his untimely death. Anyway, Zimbabwe is ruled by a tyrannical regime and has been for over 30 years. And I know some people like Frank Willis friend of mine, speak quite nostalgically about the country and still call it Rhodesia. And I mean, lots and lots of people still call it Rhodesia. Even a lot of black people still feel reminiscent about Rhodesia, actually, and they think that the changes that came over that country were a bad idea. And well, you can hardly disagree with them, can you, when you look at the state of the place? But there was the BBC made a documentary about Cecil Rhodes. It was not a documentary, it was a drama, sorry. It was like a drama series about the life of Cecil Rhodes, and it was called Rhodes. Rhodes was played by Martin Shaw, who's best known as Judge John Deed. And it was very biased, had a strong left-wing bias. It ended with a very, very kind of triumphalist scene in which they glorify over the fact that the people of Africa won their independence. Well, bullshit, quite frankly. They didn't win a scrap of independence, and the reason they didn't win any independence is because it was a sham. The black leaders, as I explained in the film about Mandela, the black leaders of modern Africa are part of this network, including the De Beers Mining Corporation, London Rhodesia Company, and the this Rhodes Trust. Well, this is the headquarters. Robert Mugabe, the fanatical genocidal maniac they've got in charge of Zimbabwe, is killed and brutalizes people. He attempted to exterminate the Matabele people in the south of the country. He's carried out a war of genocidal revenge against the white people. He's a part of this network. He's an agent of this network. As was Nelson Mandela, whether he knows it or not. So I don't think Mandela's rise to power is what this network intended, as I explained yesterday. There's been a lot of controversy in the comments box on that video, but people saying that Mandela was bad, he was good, he was bad, he was good. Well, he was neither. He was a man, and as I explained yesterday, he was neither good nor bad. I admire him, and as I said, black South Africans owe him their freedom, but white South Africans owe him their life. Because if it hadn't been for him, if someone like Julius Malema had got into power in 1994, they'd all be dead. Anyway, Rhodes was a Freemason. I think he reached a very high degree. He also talked about setting up a new secret society based around his ideas. He was the Prime Minister of the Cape Colony, which is today called the Cape Province of the Republic of South Africa. And well, basically he had an unusual idea. Now, like many other people I've talked about, there are certain people who have ideas who do want a new world order in various forms or another, and they believe that certain top-down societal structures can act as an embryo for that new world order. People say the United Nations have said. Some people believe the United Nations could be. Some people believe the Soviet Union and communism could be. Others believe various other different ideas. The European Union could be. That seems to be a popular one at the moment. Rhodes believes that the British Empire could serve as an embryonic form of the New World Order. The British Empire could grow into a New World Order. He believed that this New World Order should be based in Britain, run by white, English-speaking, Oxford-educated men. He made no bones about it. He was a complete racist. And really, I mean, I think some of his ideas have actually come into practice. There's no doubt that the Illuminati are headquartered here, and they have been for long before Rhodes was ever born. I mean, if you watch my films about the Roman Empire, I mean, the Romans were very, very keen to conquer Britain, and they spent a quarter of all their resources on Britain alone. It's quite remarkable. So there's no doubt that Rhodes was onto something there. Maybe whether he knew, whether he anticipated, because he worked it out for himself, whether somebody told him, maybe he was initiated during his time at when he was a Freemason. Anyway, he worked tirelessly towards this goal. He had an idea creating a red line through Africa from Cairo to the Cape of Good Hope of British colonial protectorates, and he succeeded pretty much because of course these were British colonies right up through southern Africa, through sub-Saharan Kenya, right up into the Sudan and Egypt and that area. It was all at some point, most of it, colonized by Britain. Various other colonial powers tried to get in there, like France took a lot of Western Central Africa. They basically moved in there as if well, no one really belonged. It didn't belong to anyone, so we'll take it, kind of thing. But he often worked. Rhodes himself often worked against official policy. What you got to realise is he often, on the surface at least, acted independently, and he became a thorn in the side for the colonial office in many ways. I mean, he worked independently with a mercenary army when he carried out his various expeditions of conquest. And the colonial office told him to stop, and he said no. But how independent were they really? Because I mean, there's no doubt that what he did has had an enormous effect, which is still felt in that part of the world today. And he always flew the Union Jack wherever he went, riding on his horses, his wagon trains. The Union Jack was always flying. His actual strategy is quite simple. What he would do is he would get mineral rights. He would go to various locations. He was not always a man of force and violence, although he could be. He was willing to use force and violence if necessary, and to kill and to exterminate vast numbers of people. But he would use diplomacy wherever he could. This doesn't make him a nicer man. It just means that he's more crafty than most. He would actually approach the leaders of various nations and tribes and try and organise mineral rights from them, so that he had access to the minerals on their land. And then slowly, bit by bit, this would allow him to take over that country. Credo Mutwa is a good source actually for how the native people saw him, because they called him, I can't remember the word in Zulu, but Mutwa told David Icke that the name for Cecil John Rhodes in his language was the man who parts two charging, the man who holds back two charging bulls. And this is what he would often do, especially during the Boer War, where the two colonial sides were demanding that the native contingent support them one side or the other. Rhodes was very clever at arranging protection for one tribe by demanding that they come under the protection of the British Empire. I mean, he was completely ruthless in that way. He would often arrange protection for tribes. He would say, "We'll protect you against your enemies if you come under the protectorate of Queen Victoria." He was absolutely convinced of what he was going to do. I mean, he said, if I could, I would annex the stars and planets. He looked up to the sky and he said, I can see stars and planets up there, but I can't reach them. If I could, I would go up there and plant a Union Jack on them. Well, that is the Illuminati through and through. And this guy was Cecil John Rhodes, 1853 to 1902, was working for the Illuminati. It's more obvious. I've never come across a more obvious case. To what extent, how much he knew it, I don't know. Rhodes died in 1902, and his grave is he wasn't buried in Westminster Abbey or anywhere like that, even though he was one of the richest and most powerful men on earth. He was buried in a quite simple grave, actually, under a pile of stones in the Matopo Mountains, which is in southern Zimbabwe. And this is very, very interesting because the Matopo Mountains were considered a sacred site by the native people, and the Mashona emperors were all buried there. And Rhodes was actually buried on a higher spot than the Mashona tombs were. So the imperial tombs of the Mashona, which in a sense says that he was above them. He'd taken over their empire, which he had. Had to all intents and purposes. And his legacy is enormous. It's not just in Africa that you see his footprints, it's everywhere. I mean, through the Rhodes Scholarships, he set up these scholarships with a vast amount of money he left. It seems to have lasted, there's obviously plenty of it there because they're still going strong, and there's no sign that any of the money for the Rhodes Scholarships is running out. To become a Rhodes Scholar, to apply, you have to be selected as someone of enormous academic ability and moral integrity. So you have to be a sort of elite kind of person. And a certain 83 students are selected every year from various countries. There's a very, very distinct selection process for them. Now, Richard Dolan, who I'm sure most of you have known about, because I've spoken about Richard Dolan before, was one of these people. He was one of these people selected. And he went to the interview and he blew the interview. I mean, you know that Richard Dolan of the exopolitics movement, who has written books like AD, After Disclosure, UFOs and the National Security State. Yeah, he was going to be a Rhodes Scholar, but he flunked the final interview. He did end up at Oxford, but on a very, very different kind of scholarship. So he was a student here, but he wasn't a Rhodes Scholar. But it's funny, you know, because I mean, when I came here and I went in there, you go through that door there, which is now shut and locked. You go in. There's this inside the rotunda. There's this circular. I'll try and find. Oh, I'll show you. You'll see the pictures of it hopefully because I'll be able to show you. You go through further, and you come to these oak-panelled halls, which again is very, very South African. And as I said, there's the gardens and everything like that. And these are the public areas of the building. Now, there's an area there's lots of areas that are roped off. You can't go upstairs or downstairs. But I did something a bit naughty. It wasn't quite naughty because I just asked the guys at the desk. They call them these are called porters. The guys who man their security here. Not hospital porters, obviously, but they use I don't really quite care for that name porter being used in this context. But anyway, I asked the porters, or whatever you call them, if I could use a toilet, and I said I needed a toilet. There was no public toilets there, and so they said, yeah, sure. And they let me go downstairs to the basement of the building, which is probably through there. And I went to the toilet in there. There's a nice toilet, and just outside there's a library, and there's a huge library down there full of all. I couldn't get in the light. You couldn't go into the library, but I could see it through a glass window door. There was a large library in the basement of Rhodes House, and there were lots of people in there. I mean, and I remember I made a note of the faces that I saw, because I thought to myself, in a few years' time, those people who I saw, those young students, one of them's going to be President of the United States, another's going to be Prime Minister of Australia, another's going to be Prime Minister of New Zealand, another's going to be a major minister in India, another's going to be President of Jamaica. This is where world leaders are made, in this building. And so Rhodes' vision for the New World Order was never meant to stop at Africa, and it hasn't. His legacy is carried on long after he died. Yeah, Rhodes Scholars, famous Rhodes Scholars was Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky's love pole, and also at one time President of the United States, Bob Hawke, Prime Minister of Australia, Norman Manley, Prime Minister of Jamaica, and Chris Christopherson. Yes. You wouldn't think Chris Christopherson was a type. He doesn't sound like a kind of Oxford educated man, does he? He talks like this, he kind of like this American kind of accent. You wouldn't think he was an Oxford man, would you? But he is. A Rhodes Scholar. Probably came into this building quite regularly. And this is very, very interesting because Chris Christopherson is one of the people who Cathy O'Brien accuses of being a member of the Bohemian Grove organisation, and she accuses him of abusing her and her daughter as being part of this network of the Illuminati. Yep, Chris Christopherson. A reptilian shapeshifter? Who knows? Is it still recording? Yeah. Anyway, there we are. This is Rhodes House in Oxford, and this is the place that anyone going protesting outside the government in Pretoria in South Africa after Nelson Mandela's died, and what the future of the country is going to be, or anything to do. They shouldn't be approaching Jacob Zuma. They shouldn't be approaching Thabo Mbeki. They shouldn't be approaching Julius Malema, would you want to, anyway. They shouldn't be protesting outside the house of these people. They should be protesting outside here, because this is where I think the decisions which shape that country and much of the rest of the world are made. Thank you for watching Apanwo TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.